Alright guys, I wanted to come to you here with a quick lap guide for Lime Rock and the ARCA car. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, but this is a pretty technical track. Even though it is a simple layout, it would be a simple track in something like the MX-5, but in a stock car it's a little, you've got a lot of throttle control going on, and you've really got to be patient with the throttle and precise with your braking. I'm going to start out on turn 8 here rather than 9, because what you get coming out of both of these is really important to get your speed coming to the line. Normally I would be in third gear here, but I must have messed up somewhere here in the chicane. So just take this, actually I'll tell you what, just ignore this, and what I do on the end of the actual lap is what you'll do on the build-up. So let's just get to the line here. So I'll tell you what, we'll do this. We'll go all the way to here, so you can see what it actually would look like. Okay, so we'd be in third here. I wish you could go a little faster here with the fast forwarding. So there's not much in the way of brake markers on this track. I guess what I would look for is probably these little tire marks here, which are always going to be there. So you could look for that maybe as a brake marker. Yeah, I think that would be a good one. Either that or these trees over here to the right will be another good one. So onto the brake, you're going to do about 50% going into 8, and then you're going to want to trail off of it pretty quickly. Make sure you're getting a lot of wheel into it before the apex. You can see there I'm at almost full wheel before the apex of the turn, and then that way as I'm getting onto the throttle, and you want to try to get it to where you can carry throttle through the apex on these fast corners. So you can see there I'm at 60% coming out of the apex and up to 100. So we're thinking like this is the build-up lap. I just wanted to show the correct way to do that to start the lap. So you're at 100 coming down the hill, and once again there's not much in the way of markers, but I guess this little patch right here is a good place to let off of your throttle and start to get onto your brakes. And you're going to do about 30%, and once again you're going to trail off of it really quickly. And then you want to be off of it and on to the throttle by the time you get to this curb and through the apex, and get your wheel fully loaded before the apex of the turn. That's something I always hear Swaleo talking about. And that way when you're coming through, you can unload the wheel and get on the throttle, and then just bring it to the line. So you're gonna do that on your build-up lap, and then that's gonna bring you to the straight. Okay, so you could really push it past 6. I've braked as late as 5, but especially starting out, you really want to think about braking here at the 6, and you're going to go up to about 80% on the brake. And once you get onto the brakes, you want to get down to third really quickly, almost immediately. And then once you shift down, you can start trailing off of the brakes, get down to about 25. And then as you're getting into this first apex here, you'll shift down to second with just a tiny bit of brake left. And for the most part here, you're going to stay out of the throttle on this on turn 1, and then you're going to get this one more little stab of the brakes at about 10% really helps the car rotate. And then, same with just that little bit of throttle there, which didn't do much. With right there, as you're coming to this curb, you want to start to ease into your throttle, and you want to try to come through the apex right here at about 40 to 50% throttle. Try to stay off that curb there, get as close to it as you can. But you see, I got onto it there a little bit, so I had to drop the throttle, which probably cost me a little bit of time. But you're gonna see how it, like, normally if this was the MX-5, I'd be full throttle right now, but in this car you just can't do it in these stock cars. So up to 60, and I'm gonna go to 100 here, but realistically you don't have to do that. I've seen people go as low as 70% throttle, but you do want to make sure that the only reason I'm doing 100 is because I had it set up to where I could get over here without any trouble. But a lot of times if you're full throttle, it's going to make it harder for you to get over here. And I'm already back out of the throttle, and you can see I'm at about 16%, 15% on the brakes, and then I get out of it immediately. I think maybe one more little stab of the brakes here. Yeah, one little 5%. I mean, if you watch Suelio's videos, you hear him all the time talking about how just the tiny 1% of brake can make all the difference in the world, getting your car to rotate. So once again, be patient. Don't get onto the throttle. You can maybe get a little stab there coming through the apex of 3, but as you're coming out of it, you want to get up to about 60-70% and then up to 100, which you don't, once again, you don't have to get up to 100, because you can see I'm immediately dropping it back down to 70. And then you're gonna, coming through this apex of 4, you really want to try to throttle through it, which I didn't do a great job of doing there, because probably because I got up to 100% before that. So, but you want to get onto it here and then ease up to 100, around 190. You got to be really careful coming through here, because you're turning right, and then there's little dips in here, like up here with the curb. So it's really hard to, like, balance going full throttle, but also keeping the car from spinning out and keeping from spinning the tires. So it's just one of those things you're going to have to get on here and run laps to figure out the sweet spot on how to do it. So you can see here I'm at 70, 73, 75%. And then there's this little dip here, which is the main reason I'm not higher. And I'm in third. And sorry, I should have told you there as far as shifting. You're going to come through here all the way through here. It's going to be second here. And then right there, if I hadn't went to 100, I probably could have carried like 60% throttle, 50%, 40 coming through here, coming through right here. You can see there I got up to 100 and immediately had to drop it down a little bit to keep the car under control. And this right here, there's a little dip here that's kind of hard to see, but you have to be really careful. And we're shifting to third right before that, so right before this curb here. And you can kind of see the dip there, but you can't see it so much on the actual track. And then once I get into third, I feel a little more comfortable going up to 100% throttle. But you really gotta be able to counter steer with the wheel, because it is gonna want to kick. It's gonna want to kick around on you. So as far as brake markers for the chicane, you've got this line here that's straight. See how it's straight right here, and then it comes straight right here, and then it starts to curve around. I try to brake before the curve here. So I'm already off the throttle, and then probably 5 feet before that. I'm sure you could do it a little later, but this is just what worked for me. So I'm not as good on these slow corners, these slow chicanes, so I normally brake a little earlier. But I've seen guys brake, right in here, just whatever's more comfortable. But you're going to go up to about 80%, a little less, maybe 70. And as soon as you get onto the brakes, you're going to want to shift down to second. It's really going to help you. You really need the engine braking for this coming into this slow section. So keeping about 70% brake until we start to turn our wheel, and right as we turn our wheel, we start releasing the brake and trail brake into the chicane. Do not clip this curb or this one over here, because it will upset the car way more than you're expecting. You want to get as close to it as you can without actually running over it. And then once I start into this chicane, I'm going all the way up. Once I straighten my wheel, I'm full throttle. Coming through, don't hit this one either. And then as I start to go up the crest of the hill, I drop it down to about 90 and then 80. And then the main thing is you cannot be full throttle coming over the top of this hill, because it will kick the rear end around every time. Especially if you have any wheel in it. I mean, if you've got wheel in it and you're anywhere past 70, it's probably going to kick around on you. So you could get the wheel straight, and then once I get shifted into third, or get ready to shift into third, is when I get up to 100. So you can see there I'm at 100. Well, really, really, before getting into third, really once you top the hill there. So once you top this hill, you can get up to 100. You gotta be really patient with it. And then up to third. And then we already showed these two corners. Same thing as before. 50%, 45-50% throttle. Going into 8. And then you're going to trail out of it pretty quickly. So I got more of an early apex here. You really need to try to get a later apex. Like, you need to try to come into this. You need to try to apex like here, and you could probably get more speed. These are two corners that I've still been trying to work out. So I know there's more time to be had, but it's going to be for another day. I've spent hours driving tonight. My hands are literally like red and trying to blister from driving so much. So throttle through the apex here. You're in third. And then once you get the wheel straight, you can go to 100. Remember I said at this little patch here, so when you get off the gas and go to about 35% brake, and once again trail out of it pretty quickly. And see here again, I apexed a little earlier. Like, I guess now that I'm seeing it in replay, I'm seeing mistakes that I made. But 8 and 9, you really want to try to get a later apex, which would allow you to carry more speed. So you can see, carry about 60% throttle through the apex, and then it's kind of a balance coming out of the, as you're unloading your wheel, you want to try to get onto the throttle as quickly as you can. That's the game on these last two corners here, is getting onto the throttle and getting your wheel unloaded as quickly as you can. And I mean, it's just something that takes time. But if I can get an updated lap tomorrow or something, I may think about doing another video. But for now, this is a good time, and if you can run in the 54s, you're going to be competitive. I mean, my rating's a 1.3, and if you're running a 54.9 and you're in this range of iRating, you're going to have a chance to win just about every race, and you're probably going to get pole just about every race. So anyhow, I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section. I appreciate it.